They laugh. You know what I mean? They've got their little clique. They got their little circle, and they probably know that shit.
The stuff that this dude has done, man, I wish I could tell you. I mean, all I know is that we're talking underaged individuals too.
Yeah, that's horrible. And that's the thing, man. People in some of them groups and places of power, it's a joke to them to treat people that way.
And even
people like trash.
The police officer in Wichita, I think his name is Alex Rodriguez. The case a long time ago. Yeah. Again, when he was accused of doing what he was doing, nobody believed nobody wanted to believe that a police officer who was in the community would do this. So anybody that said something was shunned. They were victimized again by you a liar. They were ridiculed until all of a sudden he got caught. And he got caught and he couldn't deny it. Now all of a sudden, now they go back. All these allegations were true. Whatever happened to all of those supporters who supported him? Remember that. This is not something that's new the way this happens. All right? And him and Greg the Hitman were friends too. They hung out. Now, I can't say anything happened with that, but I will say this. Birds of a feather flock together, and that I know in dealing with people. Yeah. And if anybody doesn't believe me, you want to talk to me, please find me. I will sit down, answer any of your questions, and I guarantee you, if you told the Hitman you were having a conversation with me, he would freak out and would disown you right now. Because he doesn't want you to know the truth. Because he's going to lie as much as he can. Because you know why? But the truth always will reveal itself. Will always reveal itself.
Well, and the fact that they put him on leave.
He's still working. He's not on leave. Yeah. He's still working.
Yeah, he's still there. But
took him off the air to give the appearance
that
they're trying to do the right thing. But that's why I say that's what people do, though. It's a joke.
We're looking into the investigations. Let's just take him off air. But, Hitman's still programmed from your house. We're still going to give you a check.
Right. What? If they were taking it seriously, they would keep him away from their other employees. They would remove the cancerous object. They don't. If you go to a doctor and you're sick, you got cancer, they cut the shit out. They don't say, well, we're going to wrap it just around the liver so it doesn't spread to the rest of your body while we investigate it further. But it's affecting your liver right now, but we'll just keep it on your liver and we'll just No, they cut the shit out. If you got a cancer in your office, in your program, you got a problem, you cut it out and you get rid of it.
But that's the key with companies. The manager can create a narrative against you, the employer. And the upper management believes it automatically without question. The manager, he said it is true. Okay, they got to go. Now, if an employer says something against the manager, they never believe it first. They never believe it first. Never. They take the side of the manager, and then they figure out a way to make sure they're not in legal jeopardy.
That's it. Yeah. It's a matter of culpability.
Yeah.
Now, if your story is such and your evidence is such where their hands are tied and they have to act, that's the only time they'll do it.
The HR, when I sent, because because when it happened, so I wrote the first post and I was, hey guys, I wanted the listeners to know where I was at because I didn't want somebody creating a narrative, but I didn't want to tell them all of the details. I said, let me get my head straight because what I write is going to not only HR here, but I'm sending it to corporate and then I'm also sending it to the president of the company. So I took my time to draft it, right? But the first one I wrote had to be 6 pages long. Like, I was so upset. But I remember the response I got from our HR department was, we'd like to make some time or let us know when you're available so we can address your concerns. I was like, that doesn't sound like a company who cares about their employees or really cares what's going on. It sounds like somebody who wants to say, well, let's just see what you think. We really don't believe you. In reading that's how I felt. You know what I mean? Yes.
Now, let me ask you, me personally, I feel like in that position, my first instinct is legal representation right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I probably wouldn't even wrote HR. Yeah. Their first letter would have been from a lawyer, from me personally. So
well, I think he was just so shocked.
Which I get. I'm not criticizing your steps. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, putting myself in that position, that's my first thought. And when people automatically assume when you say that, like, oh, you're so happy or you just want money or that. But it's not about that. It's about, first off, like, the legal system is so difficult to navigate. And it's that way on purpose. Because they don't want the average person to be able to just, if you could just represent yourself and you knew what the hell you were doing, if everyone spoke the Latin that they use and you knew how to file the paperwork and this and that, then the lawyers would be out of the jobs. If the lawyers are out of the jobs, there'd be no one to promote to the judge. Like they've got the system. That's how they gatekeep the system. So sometimes in protecting your rights so you don't misstep between point A and point D, sometimes as snaky as a fucking lawyer is, that's got to be the first move oftentimes, unfortunately, because sometimes if you do misstep, even if you've done nothing wrong, if a T wasn't crossed right, and I had to represent myself once, and I did fairly well. I was told afterwards I was a hell of a litigator, but they held me accountable.
That is fantastic.
They held me accountable for the paperwork, and every paperwork I submitted to the court, I had to send to the other party's lawyer. Like this, if I messed up procedurally, anything along the way, I would have been thrown out, whether I was in the right or wrong. I would have no ground to stand on if the procedures in going after it were not right. You know what I mean? And that's the scary thing. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be right and wrong. Either it's right or it's wrong.
And that's probably what's intimidating to a lot of people that go through stuff, thinking, okay, one, nobody's going to believe me, or two, the whole rigmarole of just trying to get my voice heard only to be told nothing you can do. The work sometimes is the work worth the payoff, but yes. For me, the payoff is justice. Now, I'm not thinking about money. I'm like, no, because again, here I am, a professional in broadcasting. And for us people, if you're a professional in anything, all you want to do is have a successful life doing what you love, right? You will go anywhere just to do it, and especially if you can get paid so that you can support your family. I have a 9-year-old and I have a 15-year-old. Right? Now, the 15-year-old I love dearly, but I say this so you can get understanding of my mindset. He's not biologically mine. His dad isn't in his life like that. So even though me and the mother aren't on good terms, seems like ever, I've never stopped also taking care of him, even though he's not mine. So when I get her, I get him. I go to her school, I go to his school. He has a room in my house, she has a room in my house. You would never know he was not my biological son unless I told you that. But to me, it's the commitment of, I'm not going to leave you in a position to where you don't have anybody. Or I just come and pick her up and you wonder, where's my dad? You know what I mean? So my mindset is that I am a team player. I am, even when it's not the team I necessarily want to be around, like the mother of my child. All the issues she has, I still have to figure out, how do I become a better person? So in this journey, and then even coming here, leaving them, saying, okay, here's an opportunity for me to work with a strong national radio company and possibly move up so I can get to a syndicated show that I want to do. And then I put my trust in somebody else. Hey, I got you. You got me 110%, no problem. I am vulnerable for work. I have started jobs where I have literally started in the mailroom because they wouldn't accept my resume so that I can do the afternoon show because they wouldn't look at me. So I had to start in the mailroom, basically, work my way up, and then all of a sudden, now I'm doing the afternoon show, something I wanted from the beginning, but, you weren't looking at me then because wherever your values are. So I'm that type of guy. I'm that workhorse. So for someone to take advantage of me when I know how hard I work, I'm not allowing you to do that. And not only that, but even test me as a man. I've never given you the reason to think that. So then when you don't get what you want from me, you try to throw me in the fire and try to throw me under the bus. And then you try to do it in such a way where if I tell you what's going on now, you have a reason to say, oh, he's just a disgruntled employee. That's just like the accountant stealing all your money and then telling you, well, you dumb because you didn't count it.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
that's got me fired up. I'll be honest. Got me fired up.
Got me fired up.
I hope that guy's got everything coming to him.
That's why I say anybody that has any questions, if you don't believe me, please contact me. Talk to me. I'll answer any questions because this is not about money or status. No, this is about and
right
then
and wrong.
And not only is it more just right or wrong, but it's like there are at least 20 more, if not more, that have already said something. So there are more. You're thinking over a course of 20 years of stuff that has happened that people, I don't know, this stuff is coming out, man. And this stuff is
hundreds. If 20 people came forward, it's hundreds.
I'll never forget when I first heard the allegation against Bill Cosby. Love Bill Cosby.
Oh yeah.
Oh, who did?
The first one you hear is like, oh, here we go. Then all of a sudden it's 30 or 40. You be like, well, you know, some of them must be doing it for money. Now I realize what I was doing in doing that.
Yeah.
Because I have taken away, or I have hurt them because I don't know what they went through. And all these stories, you would say, well, and I remember some of the things were like, yeah, you know, he probably did sleep with him, but they probably knew it. You know, you were always making an excuse for what Bill was doing. Not to say that any one of them is wrong or right, but you have to give more respect to the victims. You know, everybody, even Kale's. I've sat and shook Kale's hands and, you know, and talked to him. He seemed like a cool guy. But I also know the stories in Chicago of the buses that would take the girls to his house, the rooms they are in, and, you know, and I know people who know the stories. And even though I know people that know the true stories, some of the people and others will say, yeah, but it probably wasn't all true. Like, we still will do that. So the problem is us as a society. When somebody says something has happened to me, why don't we believe them? Why do we always believe the ones in power? Just like when I stood up and said, I'm going to say this, oh, don't say anything. You won't get another job in this business. Really? That's the advice you give me when something has happened to me?
I don't know about that because talking to radio people all over the country, when they find out that I'm from currently in Kansas, they always bring up your story.
But why? Because of the fact that it's like a train wreck. What's happening?
And I've made several comments about, he's worried that when he came forward, he might not get another job. And I have talked to so many radio people that are like, well, if he would apply here, we'd probably hire him. And a lot of it is they're like, we want somebody who's going to be honest.
But here's the thing, man. When you go through, it's just like a relationship. When you're in a relationship, you fall in love, you love them. When you catch them cheating or you catch them doing something that you never thought you would catch them doing, it breaks your heart so much to that the next person that comes up to you, you're like, I don't really want a relationship. I'll just stay single. I don't really. It affects the way you talk. So I'll be honest. I don't. After this situation probably happened because of. Well, the way I reacted probably happened because of other things that have happened at different radio stations that I never really said anything about. I just kept moving on. And then all of a sudden, this is the nail, or this is the straw that breaks the camel's back in a sense. It's like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm not going to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I'll be honest. When you go through stuff like this, and it's with radio guys, who doesn't want a program director who believes in you, open, say, hey, man, go ahead, create, let's do this.
Yeah.
You're like, what? This is what you want. This Ann is going to teach you. And then when the opposite happens, do you trust another program director? Do you trust another company? And then companies wonder why it's so hard to keep employees because you're not focused on the way you treat them. You're just focused on, well, if the bottom line isn't met, then it must be them. No, the problem a lot of time is management and the structure and how why do you go to your favorite place to shop, even if it costs a little bit more? Because the experience is what you want. Is what you want.
I get criticized a lot by people where they're like, you always shop at the same places, you always eat the same places. And part of the reason is because they treat you well, you get good customer service, and there's no problem.
I'm the same way, and I've discussed this on your show before. I always try to shop, and I'm guilty of not being able to do it sometimes, but it's very rare that I go into a Walmart. Maybe once, twice a year, if that, and that's because I'm on the road and it's there and I need something. You know what I mean? But I try to shop local, and not just my local. I try to shop wherever I'm traveling. I try to support local-owned business, mom-and-pop-owned businesses, small-town businesses, because they're dying. You know what I mean? And sometimes their prices are a little higher, but it's such an important part of this experience, this collective experience in this country, to have those people that did risk everything to go out on their own, to have the guts and the courage to, hey, I want to open a restaurant. I believe in my coleslaw that much. I'm going to open a restaurant. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to open this radio
and when you
repair
say,
shop.
When you say locally, it makes me think of this. Here's a man who claims he loves Wichita and is always talking locally, right?
Yeah.
But when a job opening comes, you go to Chicago and get somebody and not bring anybody in Wichita to even
right.
teach them or bring them up in radio if they don't know it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they know of you. You don't know who really knows what's going on. You know, I had no idea. This guy from Chicago knows nothing.
You have no support structure there.
None at all. So that's
you can't prey on somebody local because their mom lives there, their dad lives there, their wife
somebody
lives
knows
there,
a story or something that's going on.
their cousin lives
And
there.
everywhere I've been, it is unbelievably talented people sitting in Wichita and around Wichita.
Yep.
Unbelievably talented people. Then I'm like, I can't believe, but again, I'm not the man pulling the lever. I'm just the guy that's sitting in the chair. Hey, okay, I need you to do this job. And it's and what's interesting is that we don't realize how much we've been victimized throughout life, period, until your life is over. And then it's too late.
Yeah.
But every now and then, a moment comes where it's like, all right, today you're going to be your own superhero. So I'm my own superhero right now. I'm not going to allow you to do this. And if it means I don't ever get a job in radio, I promise this will be something I push to the day that I die until you are either in jail or under it. Because you are not going to put your hands on me for one. And you're not going to take away my life. Because you have a perversion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, we are going to do this. We're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we are going to be chatting with Mr. Koolout about radio and entertainment. And we're going to work Mr. Fitness in because you've got a movie coming out that we have.
Another movie. Another movie. I want to plug a few movies today. Actually, there's some great stuff coming out. Actually, we're going to talk about a lot of movies today. I'll work them all in if we got time.
I know how you do.
Yeah,
you'll be able to work.
Big shout